Okay, we can go ahead and begin.
Right, good morning all. Sorry for the delay there. This meeting of the RCUH Board of Directors is now called to order. I'd like to acknowledge the presence virtually of Vice Chair Kelly Gooden, Director Ken Hayashida, Director David Carl, Director Mike Marbury. I'm looking for Joe Pickard. I don't see him. And Director Diane Paloma is excused. I also believe that we have with us from RCUH, Executive Director Lenny Govea, Nelson Sakamoto, Len Yi, Kaylee Hall. I believe Reese Nakamura is at the RCUH conference room, as is Peter Adler, our consultant for strategic planning. First order of business is to see if there's any public comment. Kaylee, is anyone signed up to provide testimony?
We did not receive any testimony.
Thank you. Next order of business is the approval of minutes of our November 15th meeting. Are there any modifications, comments to the minutes? If not, a motion to approve is in order.
This is Mike, so moved.
Is there a second?
This is Ken, so moved.
Thank you very much, Mike and Ken. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any nays, abstentions, and it is passed. Thank you. Next on our agenda is our financial report from Glenn.
Okay, I'm gonna attempt to share my screen here, so this works. So hopefully you're able to see my screen. I'll go through I guess the key sets of financials and then kind of double back for any comments that I may have. So this in front of you should be our balance sheet. Balance sheet, of course, is just a picture in time. So this particular balance sheet is as of November 30, 2021. The big line items, of course, are net assets. You can see there, about 42.1 million. Total liabilities, about 32.5 million. And the difference between those two numbers is your retained earnings. Only comment I have for our board members, of course, is that we our primary assets is cash. So this number here is 39.6. It's primarily cash. In our line of business, we are very much transaction oriented. So just a lot of transactions that are run through our RCUH. So it's primarily cash and payables is what we have on our balance sheet. The fluctuation in terms of our cash compared to prior year, it is large. It's about 16.1 million, but that's pretty typical for us. It's not unusual. It just depends on timing of payments as well as collection on receivables and advances. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the balance sheet. If not, then I will move on to our income statement. So essentially you have 4 columns. We like to measure, I guess, against budget. So this represents the budget for the entire year. And this represents the activity up and through November 30, 2021. So basically 5 months of activity. I like to look at this percentage of budget column here because I kind of look at it in terms of what our percentage is compared to budget, and the level of activity that we're at. So if you take 5 months, through November, we should be at about 41.6%. You kind of see here, operating revenues are at about 39%, so a little bit under budget. But correspondingly, in terms of operating expenses, we are also down. Okay. So we're essentially underspent compared to our budget. That, of course, leads to us for essentially a slightly better than expected in terms of operating income. The big driver in terms of the underspending or under budget number is, of course, this, which is our salaries and wages. This item here. So we are actually underspent here about 7%. We do have a number of vacancies in HR as well as procurement. So not necessarily a good thing because people are working pretty hard, and we do have when you do have a lot of vacancies, other people have to pick up the work, so you do have some cases of burnout. So that's the thing that we're watching out for. Other items, I didn't really have any comments, but if anybody has any questions on them, I'd be more than glad to answer. Okay. If not, then just moving on to some of the other pieces of information. The thing that I like to look at is actually the volume of business here. And this really kind of gives you a good idea in terms of the volume that's being run through RCUH in terms of transactions. So we are actually up over last year. We're at about 120 million through November. Let me see, I have a calculation here. So on average, it's about 24 million per month in terms of actual expenditures that are being run through RCUH. Wanted to point that out. And lastly, nobody has any questions on that page. This is our cash flow statement.
Yeah. I'm gonna mention that.
That's our cash flow statement. And I just like to look at that number there for the month of November. So the actual cash disbursements were about 22 million, 22.2. So just to emphasize the volume that is being run through us. Okay. So if anybody has any questions on the financials? Okay, that's all I had.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, next item is a report from the audit committee. If I could ask Ken to make that report.
Let's see, where'd that go? So the audit committee met with NNK on October 2021 to review and accept the audited financial statement of the 2021 fiscal year. Audit principals Dwayne Tokeno and the audit manager Christian Hara noted that this is NNK's second year completing RCUH's audit. And I guess it's during the pandemic, and they recognize that they received a lot of assistance from Glenn and his team. NNK reported that they're provided an unmodified opinion and that there were no material weakness or significant deficiencies found in the audit. The auditors also informed us that the committee formed the committee that new accounting standards will be implemented this fiscal year that will affect the accounting for leases. So it's going to be something that Glenn has to deal with. Kind of I think it was passed last year or something like that in the regulations, but something that Glenn has to deal with. Not going to be easy from what I hear. RCUH noted that they will need to coordinate with the UH on how liabilities and assets will be recorded in each of their entities' financial statement. The audit committee accepted unanimously the audited financial statement and would like to propose to the board that the board ratifies the audit committee's acceptance of the financial audit for fiscal 2021. So I will need a motion for that approval.
It's Mike, so moved.
Dave Carl seconds.
Thank you, Dave. All those in, I guess, Gene, will you call for the all or do I call for the motion? I guess I will ask for all those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. I would, the motion carries. I would like to thank Glenn and his team and our audit committee, Mike, Gene, Kelly. I don't think Joe Pickard attended, and we had a board, outside board member also sit in to review our financials. And so that was very helpful for him. He's the CFO for the Hawaii Community Foundation. So it's good to have some accountant sitting outside of our board to help us through that process. So thank you. Gene, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ken. Well done. All right. Next item is our executive director's report. Lenny?
Great, thank you. Good morning, Chair Bell, Vice Chair Gooden, and other esteemed members of our board. Happy holidays to everyone. Let's start there. And sorry that once again we won't be able to meet in person and have a little gathering. We're all getting kind of used to that, although things seem to be opening up on the home end. Hopefully we can spend some time with family this year. But again, looking forward to the future and having the opportunity to do that again with everyone. In an effort to devote as much time as we can to the new strategic plan for the 2022 to 2026 time period, I won't cover each item that I identified in the written materials to you folks, but I did want to cover a few items and have a few comments on them. So the first is a COVID-19 vaccination policy for the RCUH employees. We've been working closely with the University of Hawaii and trying to be in sync with them as much as possible. On December 3rd, we released our COVID-19 policy that it indicated that it was going to go into effect on January 4th, 2021. But on December 7th, 2021, 4 days after the release of our policy, a federal district court in Georgia issued a nationwide injunction against Executive Order 14042 from President Biden, which basically mandated it mandated vaccinations for federal contractors. So our policy is basically on hold, and Nelson is working on a response with our attorney and will provide direction for us moving forward. That's all the information I have at this point. Nelson, do you have anything you want to jump in and add here, or is that accurate? Is that any updates or anything?
Yep, that's totally accurate, and
Okay.
we'll be providing updates as soon as our attorneys give us sufficient guidance to do so.
Okay, thank you. So then the next item is basically we've been providing you with the reports for the 2017, I believe, to 2021 strategic plan that was established under previous executive director, Dr. Sylvia Yuen. And so this is officially the final report for that. And that's all in the written information here. And again, I won't go over all of that. Just 2 points that I want to identify one. I'm really happy to announce that Kaylee Hull has been named as the Assistant Facility Security Officer for us. She has quite a bit of training to get to, and I will remain as the FSO for the time being, and we will move accordingly as best we can as soon as she gets more training. And the goal hopefully is to eventually fill that role, hopefully Kaylee, but we'll work on that moving forward. The second item is, as far as the strategic plan that was done, I believe that everything has been completed with the exception of the AS400 and the IT plan, which called for additional items to be considered. So those two items are just basically been carrying over to our next new 5-year strategic plan. So that's the big item, ticket item that is carrying over. So I think that that's all I have with respect to the strategic plan issue for the last one. The last report that I'd like to make is last week, Friday, I met with Kaylee and I met with the East-West Center as far as the space and what's available for our move. So some space has been made available and we're looking into starting a partial move, hopefully soon. They got thrown off with the Delta variant. So basically the East-West Center is still closed for business with the exception of RCUH, who all of our people are still going to work there. And it's a pretty difficult process to get in there. I'm not sure if anybody has been there lately, but you have to go through the process every single day and it's not that simple. I had fun. I rarely go around there, but it was fun to get in. So we're pretty much the only tenants that are occupying the space and they're trying to reevaluate all the locations and what's available, but there's movement. So that's what I'm happy to report. And it looks like we will be taking on some additional space. And it's not going to be a lot of additional space, but a few offices, probably 2 offices at this point and some open area outside of those offices. And we're doing an internal evaluation of the space that we do have. And we're trying to clean things up, get rid of paper and be more efficient. So we will come up with a better report for you, hopefully at the next meeting, as far as the plan and when we can expect to be fully moved. So with that, I just want to open up the floor to any questions from anyone.
Lenny, do I understand then that the vast majority of RCUH core staff are already in the East-West Center? And if that is the case, then who is left to move?
Approximately half of our people are there. So we have a little under 40 people. I think we're like 36 people, 37 people right now. We got about half of them up here at MIC and half of them down there. So, and that number kind of changes a little. We're down a little on the numbers right now, which, like Glenn said, is a good but not good thing. So, this is our opportunity. We're kind of throwing everything into the mix and we're evaluating everything and at once because it's perfect timing to do so and clean up as much as we can. Both paperwork and personnel and, the work that we do and all of the above. So that's part of our new strategic planning that we're going to discuss shortly. But yeah, so it's not a lot of people. We don't think we're going to need that many offices. They don't have that many offices. So everyone won't have their own office and not everyone here has their own office either. So right now it's looking really positive as far as the space, and we think it's going to work to the extent that we can all be literally in the same location. In the past, it was thought that we would have to occupy maybe different areas of the same floor and possibly even another floor. That's still on the table because East-West Center is going through their evaluation of what their needs are. But being in the same building is going to be a tremendous asset for us, I think, for UH and the researchers. I know many researchers have told me that they'd be really happy with us being right there.
Are there, and I guess maybe Glenn, are there financial implications of leaving the MIC and moving to the East-West Center in terms of lease costs?
So we've always been looking at that issue, and Vasilis and I had spoken about that long ago. We're just trying to make it the same as or less than the cost that we have now. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be less than, even though costs are increasing, and costs are increasing everywhere. And I still think it's going to be slightly under what we're currently paying. And like I said, we're trying to be as efficient as possible. And as you look at our budget this year, we're really doing a real good job, I believe, of keeping the numbers down and doing our part to, save as much as we can. And we will continue to do so. So the way it looks right now, we will be saving money, but it's not going to be anything significant. But saving money in this climate, I think, is good no matter what.
Thank you.
Okay.
Penny, this is Ken. Are you seeing what are you seeing as a percentage of staff that's actually coming into the office? Are you guys going to be hybrid work?
So the plan is to do a hybrid, and that's why the space allocation is important, because we're trying to kind of set up like an office space within our space that is available to those who will be doing the hybrid. But the policy for work from home scenario is pretty complicated, and the University of Hawaii has been working hard on that. And we're gonna, like everything else, we're gonna follow in their footsteps and try to be as in sync as possible with them. So we're waiting for that to happen. And I did see a notice that came out just in the last couple of days, and we're following that, monitoring that, and we will be working on that. So Nelson is, we've been talking about that with the leadership team, and we will be trying to implement something along those lines. So number wise, off the top of my head, I haven't gotten the input of, the full leadership team, but in my mind, I think that we will have at least 6 to 10 people out of our 40 total that we could accommodate in a hybrid situation. That's based on what I know to date, but that could change. And of course, if we do that, we're thinking of an office space for 6 to 8 people where it can be used, very small area, and they can work from home and they can come in and have the computers available to do work. But the devil's in the details with that, and we're not taking it lightly. There's a lot of issues to address with that, but again, cost savings and all of the above is something that we're trying to take care of, and of course make sure that we serve the researchers and do not lose any focus on that. We cannot lose the services that we provide and delays and whatnot. So that's something that we really have to work on. Okay. And any other questions?
Say, Lenny, I had one. This is Dave Carl. I'd like to return to a sore point maybe with the organization. Certainly a difference between my RCUH employees and yours. And that has to do with the annual salary adjustments and bonuses that were unavailable to your staff, your 40 people,
Right.
but were available to all of the other RCUH, thousands of people in the field. Given the slight salary access because of open positions and this possible gain of some dollars on the new lease, is there any possibility of a mid-year, even a bonus to the core employees. You know, you mentioned this thing about maintaining the quality of service, and that partly scales on the morale of your staff. And I know that it, without having a salary adjustment in 3 years, the morale must be at an all-time low.
Thank you, Dave. I totally appreciate that. And that's something that's always on my mind. And I want to note for the record that I'm very proud of the RCUH people for sticking with it and, you know, doing more with less. And I understand the difficulties, but, you know, the rest of the state is going through the same thing. And I put our core staff in the same boat, if you will, as the University of Hawaii employees who support the research. So I don't want to have a inequality there where we allow raises for our core staff, yet the UH people aren't getting, you know, raises. So there's a difference between the non-core staff who's getting funded by federal funding. Basically, we'd be leaving money on the table for the federal funding that that was procured and awarded to researchers in their budgets, and it's already been budgeted for. And so we shouldn't, in my opinion, not, you know, penalize them and not give them the money that was already awarded, because the federal government hasn't put any limitations on the use of those fundings. Whereas in the state of Hawaii, we basically have a hiring freeze, and you know, we've been trying to respect that as well. And I believe raises are not appropriate at this time. But I'm very cognizant of the issue, and as soon as we're able, and hopefully the University of Hawaii, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm sure that at some point they're gonna be negotiating that with the unions, and there will be some movement on pay increase at some point with everything that's going on. Maybe Vasilis can.
Actually, I want to jump in and thank Lenny for his leadership on this subject. It is a difficult subject and he's making a difficult decision, but in my opinion, it is the right decision. And here, the way I see it, as Lenny articulated, RCUH did not stop any programmed increases on extramural funds. They were in the budget, and that's great. But let's take, for example, the core staff at RCUH. They're pretty much paid out of RTRF. A lot of the core staff within the University of Hawaii Research Enterprise, all over Manoa and a lot of campuses, are paid out of the RTRF. Hardworking, want quality of service for their customers, but they're not getting any increases. So in my mind, though, I feel bad of the situation. It would be, in my mind, completely unfair to have UH employees on RTRF get no increases. However, RCUH employees on RTRF, because that's what it is, have increases. So I will 100% back Lenny in his decision. I know it is a difficult decision, but in my mind is the right decision.
Yeah, so that, I hope that answers the question, Dave. And I will tell you, it's a very difficult, like Vasila said, it's a very difficult decision, and it's not, you know, we all know what's going on right now. And the difficult part is, you know, we have record years of federal funding coming in, and that's the hardest part for me, is we have more work to do, and it's more with less. And that's a sacrifice part that, you know, the true meaning of sacrifice is exactly that. And these people are still working hard and not complaining, at least not to me. And I've had situations in the past when there's been complaining in much better circumstances. So I totally do appreciate, from the bottom of my heart, all the work that everybody's doing and have, you know, committed to doing and sticking with the plan moving forward. And, you know, we are in a process of change right now, and this kind of I mentioned here, and we had a October core staff meeting with Alice Inoue, who's a life expert, and we had brought her in. She's the founder of Happiness University, and I must say that really helped me a lot. And I think it was really good for our people to listen to what she had to say, and it was very nice to hear someone like that give advice as far as staying with what's going on and keeping positive, and that's again, thanks to everyone for doing that. I know how difficult it is, but I do think that good times are coming. I'm not sure when it's gonna come, but I'm remaining positive that we're gonna do what we can, and I will not forget what everyone is doing to support all of this. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. On that note, I want to say I'm very appreciative of Dave for bringing that initiative up. I mean, I know that the RCUH leadership deals with this constantly, but I also think that it's representative of one of the things that we're trying to do with regard to the strategic plan, and that is become more tightly integrated with the university. And I think the principles that the university is following with regard to salary increases is something that we should keep in step with. But Dave, thank you. That's very thoughtful of on your part. With that, are there any other questions for Len? If not, I think the meat of the meeting is an update on the strategic plan and hopefully an acceptance of its current version. With that, Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations to everybody. Happy holidays and persevering through a tough year, complicated year. Today's job Chair, is to bring this plan to adoption by you and bring it, get it moving in the new year. And I just want to congratulate everybody on the hard work. Nelson, Glenn, Kaylee, Lenny, you guys who talked this through last time. And I'm going to assume all of you have read this and you know what's there. And this draft incorporates a lot of the comments last time at the last meeting. And so I think there's been some consolidations, some elaborations on some details, and putting it back into the format of the previous years, which is a great format. I just want to remind you that for me, I do a lot of planning with a lot of different agencies and businesses, and this is a really good model. What makes it a good model is because you as a board check into this plan and update it and make changes to it as you go along. As you know, many strategic plans are just over wordy. They've got too many things running in there and they sit on the shelf until there's some audit or somebody, there's a crisis. So I just want to congratulate all of you on doing what I think is one of the best jobs, and I continue to use it as a model for others. So one danger in a moment like this is that we suddenly descend back into a lot of wordsmithing and say, well, I would prefer these words over that word. And I would urge you not to get too far down into that path. I'd rather say, do we have the concepts right? Is it set up? And where it leads you really is the ability to check in on this plan at your quarterly board meetings or whenever the need might arise. It will also lead you to the staff, Lenny and his staff, to annualize it, to put together annual plans that are this. Remember, in the previous 5-year plan, you were able to add things to it, and that will continue to be. So you'll be able to use this as a basic planning long-term thinking template. I'm working with another entity right now that is in more of a crisis mode. And I just remember the kind of reading something from Jack Welch at GE, who said, change before you have to. That was his mantra. Said, scan the horizon, look around inside, look around outside, but change before you got to change, because once you got to change, it's really tough. And I think it's the same thing. And I've just come to appreciate the way you folks are moving this along. So unless you have specific comments or specific questions about this, I would urge you to move forward and adopt it. A lot of good work has gone into it. And again, it will be amendable as you go along. It's much more of a living document than so many other plans that are hundreds and hundreds of pages, and they sit on the shelf and they serve as bookends. So Chair, questions, comments, and when you're ready, Chair, you can call for a motion to adopt it unless there are substantial amendments that you need to make. But I would urge you to stay at the concept level, not get down in the weeds, which is one of those things that really smart groups do all the time, as you folks know.
Directors, any questions or comments with regard to the current version of the strategic plan? Are you, do you feel satisfied that your personal review has been satisfied with regard to the topics that were brought up during the course of the development of the plan, especially the last meeting we had?
Chair Bell, this is Lenny. Can I make one comment, please?
Go ahead, please.
You know, we have attached here in the documents that we provided to you, the 2022 annual plan. So that's the example of the first plan that we put together for our future. And these are the items that we plan on focusing on. Those are the objectives that we plan. And we can, of course, work with you folks, and we'll continue to update you folks during the year on those items. And we can add or subtract whatever we want from there. And I think the most important part of this is to keep everyone informed and have open discussions on the issues. And you know, that's just the example for the first year. I just want to point that out. So each year we would be, you know, working with you probably the last meeting of the year to finalize the plan for the following year.
Again, any comments, any questions before we take action on approval of the next 5 years strategic plan?
Gene, this is Ken. I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve the strategic plan.
Thank you.
It's Mike, I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Are all those in favor say aye or raise your hand?
Aye.
Any nays? Congratulations, Peter and leadership team. Extraordinary work in crafting this strategic plan.
Agreed.
Thank you. And Chair Bao, if I may, I want to thank everyone for their input. We went all the way down to the field as well as our core staff and asked for their input, and carefully looked at what concerns they have identified, and it's all basically somewhere in here. So we've pretty much taken everybody's comments and concerns to heart, because everyone had very good input to give, and there was really there wasn't any whining type of suggestions, put it that way. I was very impressed by the engagement by everyone and giving good feedback so that we can improve and, you know, get better, which is what we all want. So thank you.
Excellent. All right. That brings us to the end of our agenda. At this point, unless there's something that you would like to bring to the attention of the board, a motion to adjourn is in order.
I move that we adjourn meeting today.
Thank you, Kelly.
A second.
Thanks, Mike. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
I see no opposition. So thank you again, everyone. Excellent meeting. We now have our next 5 years mapped out for us. And no, I think Lenny's right. Things are going to get better. Just don't know when that's going to happen. So I appreciate this board's perseverance and dedication, and we'll see you in the next year. So have a happy holiday. Thank you very much.
Happy holidays, everyone. Be
Happy
safe.
holidays.
Holidays, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.